Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes. So fill your water cup up, grab a non-alcoholic beer, or crack something if you're thirsty. We're excited to have you today. We're going to get started shortly. And we really do appreciate all of you coming to hang out with us on a Wednesday afternoon. It's going to be a good time. So thanks for tuning in. We see a few more people popping in, so we're going to give everybody else just a second, but appreciate everybody being here. We're going to get this party started very, very shortly. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first of four-part series on how to boost your bottom line, presented by Arrived POS, Craft Beer Professionals, Craft Peak, and Perkins & Co. We're excited to have you join for getting creative with your taproom sales. And just a few reminders before we get started. If you have any questions, please drop them in the Q&A section. Heads up, there may be too many questions for our team to answer during the session, but we'll make sure someone reaches out to answer post-webinar. We are recording this webinar. It will be sent to your email this week, so be on the lookout. Rachel Kesley has done it all. She's done food, beer, and now merging that experience into tech. You could definitely say she's a hospitality enthusiast that has just tried to soak up everything she can over the past 20 years. Idealistically, she went to culinary school after college and became a natural foods chef, focusing on vegan and vegetarian cooking. She was fortunate to live and cook all over the country and experience what each region had to offer. In one of her last restaurant positions in Denver in the early 2010s, the craft beer serve was just beginning and she latched on. Rachel quickly took over the bar program and met and talked to all of these amazing breweries that were popping up. It was a true craft beer boom that was incredible to be a part of. She did vegan beer dinners every chance she could, dedicated to making vegan anything exciting to the mainstream at that time, and beer dinners as sought after as wine dinners of the era. Rachel eventually started her own catering business, doing pop-ups at tasting rooms in the Denver area until one day realizing she just wanted to be in the craft beer world. From there, she was lucky enough to do so with the fine folks at Renegade Brewing until she made the leap into tech. And now she gets to talk to brewers, business owners, and managers about her passion for beer and service. I'm excited to have you present today, Rachel.
Thanks, Andrew. I'm excited to be here too and to chat with everybody here. Gearing into CBC. I can't believe we're already coming up on it. It is quickly approaching. So today we are going to talk about how to get creative with those taproom sales. What are we going to talk about today? Some taproom components. We're going to talk about brand consistency and your mission, how important that is. We're going to talk about service models, right? That you can start with one, you can lean into another, and that can evolve within a day, even within a couple of hours, depending on how busy you are for that shift. We're going to talk a little bit about tech, right? So how can you use technology these days, especially 15 months after 15 months into a pandemic and wreaking havoc on how we service our customer base and how they interact with us. So we're going to dive into that a little bit as well. And then we're going to talk about about programming, right? How do we drive folks back into that taproom experience and create those contagious loyalists and have some fun doing it, right? We all love a good programming in the taproom. So first, we're going to talk here about brand consistency. This is huge. You don't have, you don't want to have an identity crisis of sorts, right? This is probably part of your business plan. You can grow and evolve, but you really want to have that beacon of light that is who you are, and kind of, expand and ebb and flow in your products, what you serve, how you service, what merch you choose to sell as well. Here we've got what are the core mission of your brand? So this is, again, who are you at your core for your business? We when I was running Renegade, and we used to have a huge poster essentially up on the wall in our offices that reminded us of our mission. So we all knew why we were there, gave us some frameworks, but also the ability to be creative within our focus at the brewery. We wanted to create great beer without fitting into a certain mold. That was kind of our shtick, right? Your main goals within this brand consistency is, you want that bottom line, right? You want your business to be successful. How are we going to drive those sales up, engage your customer base, and have them be familiar with you, get to know you, feel like you're friends at that point. You're creating community within your taproom space. You want to make killer beer. You want to, turn and burn that, right? You want to, fresh is key for all of your tap lines. And how do you target your customer base? Is it a community space that you're going for? Do you want to expand, your distribution? What's selling best in your tap room? What do you know to package first? Are you going to distribute, further in your city, your state, even out of state, nationwide? And how are you going to translate that into an experience outside of the tap room, right? That experience really starts in the tap room space. Good example here of great branding and brand consistency across a lot of formats is Wiseacre. They're out in Memphis. They have a few spots out there, make great beer. But you can see, with each package they have a corresponding color scheme. They've got tap handles to go with it. Even if you're not in Wiseacre, they're in Memphis rocking out to some blues, you can kind of pick that out in the lineup wherever you are. They just started distributing out here in Colorado, and you can see that Tiny Bomb package pop off the shelf, and it really kind of creates a feeling, right? I'm not in Memphis, I'm here in Denver, but I can feel that tap room experience, and well, ultimately next time I'm in Memphis, I'm gonna go there and visit and kind of drive into that tap room, even though I'm not in that same space. Another example here that we've got is Hattie B's. I don't know if anybody here in the South is familiar with Hattie B's. They started as one little small chicken spot. I'm a native Nashvilleian and love myself some Nashville hot chicken. And Hattie B's really took it as kind of a local favorite and turned it into kind of a national conversation. And so anytime you see this symbol and like that red chicken, their colors are very bold, very bright. They've kind of created some brand awareness around fire, right? So that red hot, very iconic for them. They've kind of created their own heat levels as well. And so, kind of know anywhere that their Southern is going to just be some nice, very undermild, very seasoned chicken, all the way up to Shut the Cluck Up, right? That's the iconic face melter of hot chicken, if you will. And so that really kind of spreads through. I think they're in about 4 or 5 spots in the Southeast and Vegas now as well. But you can kind of see that from a mile away. It's like that brand really kind of speaks to you as you're walking through the town or, wherever you might be. Another good option here, an example for really thought out branding and how you can really drive up sales as well in your tap room and have some walk around marketing for you is merchandise, right? Merch is awesome, especially if you can get your employees and your behind your merch and they wear your swag. They have that buy-in, they can sell it. And they sell that beer, they sell that look, they sell that experience. When we would release a beer, we'd think of the 360 vision, right? We got to make a killer beer first, right? What's that can going to look like? What's that color scheme going to look like? And how can we pull in the merchandise to really tell that story from glass to experience? You know, naming a beer can also be really fun and hard and a really interesting practice, but it can also really bleed into how you sell that merchandise. You know, your margins on merch aren't maybe as great as that pint and that beer in a glass, but you get infinite amount of, you know, pull through from that walk around marketing from your employees as well as your customers. Keep that merch fresh, keep it rotating through almost as much as your beer. And people really want to buy into the look, the feel of what that taproom experience is and that identity that you have as a brand. The other thing here that we're going to talk about today is service models, right? Creating an experience for your guests to drive them to have a good experience that first time they're in, and also drive them back. What creates a loyalist, right? What creates your most loyal customers that are ultimately going to be your biggest advocates for the community, right? They're going to bring their friends, folks from out of town. How do you bring them in? A lot of that has to do with service models, right? Unlike a lot of things, you know, you can't set and forget a service model. Your opening day one service model might be different than, you know, your 3-month in versus your 3-year in. Your tap room is going to grow into itself, or it already is. And, you know, maybe, you know, you can open up with 1 or 2 bartenders, but, you know, around 2 o'clock, you're going to start getting slammed and you need to bring in some other hands, right? How do those servers, how do your employees interact with each other to create that experience for your guests? Need to be flexible. You know, there are kind of some main ones out there, right? First one being counter service. So counter service here, there are pros and cons to each. We'll hit on counter service first, but counter service is going to be kind of that traditional beer only tap room model, right? You know, depending on how big your tap room is, maybe you have 1, sometimes 2 bartenders on. I'm going to walk in the door. I'm going to, you know, start a tab at the bar. It's easy to staff. It's pretty intuitive, and it's pretty inexpensive. The flip side of that is, you know, if I come in and I start a tab at the bar, I go sit down, I want another one. Maybe you all have really gotten busy, right? There's now a line at the bar, what we call a bottleneck. That can deter folks from wanting to order more beers, right? They want to hang, but they're like, oh, should I close out? I guess I have to get another beer. You know, really making it easy for your guests to buy more of your goods is key here. And counter service can really help with that, but, you know, it also can hinder. And sometimes when you're at your busiest, is that really the way that you want your guests to interact with your space? Another one here is going to be full service, right? The more traditional model of service for, let's say, restaurants, brew pubs. You know, I, again, come from that restaurant world where we ran sections, and the pros there is that, you know, whoever's running that section really owns their section, right? They know their tables, are getting to know them. They can upsell things. They can make suggestions. You know, it's more about like that personalized experience. Not that counter service isn't personalized, but really this is going to be focused more on, I have a section of 4 or 5 tables. That's my world for my shift, and make sure that those guests are having the best experience they can with that upsell as well to help your bottom line. The downsides here is that for every upsell you still have more servers on per shift, right? So your margins aren't quite as good as that counter service. And so, you know, you can really start getting pretty expensive on your labor there, where you've got to sell more to pay for the extra servers on hand. You know, right now, especially, I know a lot of you all are experiencing difficulty staffing. So labor right now is hot topic. Running full sections, maybe that's not realistic for you anymore. Maybe that helped you for the first 4 or 5 years. Maybe that's not currently the case anymore. So where do we go from there, right? What can a hybrid model look like? And that's what we are calling floating service. So floating service is going to take, you know, kind of the pros of both and blend them together. And kind of what we're seeing a little bit more as industry standard across a lot of our sites, probably most of our sites that in our partnerships that we have nationwide, I would say, probably over 85% of them are doing floating counter table service. And that's really going to be, maybe I, as the guest, I'm going to come in and you all aren't quite busy yet. I go up and get a beer, start a tab at the bar. That's counter service, right? I go sit down with my friends and my buddies. And as we drink that first round, maybe you all are filling up. There's another server on that comes on shift. And they're going to start floating around, maybe with a handheld or just, interacting more table side, getting extra orders, doing that upsell without being beholden to a certain section or stuck behind the bar, right? It creates that experience of, from an employee perspective, we're working together, we're in it together. I'm going to take some orders. My coworker is going to be behind that bar, pouring more beers, getting snacks, getting merchandise down for everybody, even making food, right? And then somebody's going to run that out. And I, as the guest, have a seamless experience. And it's like, oh yeah, of course I will have another beer. You mean I don't have to get up from the table to get another IPA? Sold. So really inherently driving up that average tab size can really help your bottom line and how you do that, right? You can be reactive and even proactive if dependent on what technologies you're using and how you're tracking business within that tap room. Maybe when you're starting to peak busy times, you bring in an extra bartender, an extra set of hands, 15, 20 minutes before you tend to start getting busy. Therefore, you're ready for it. You know what to do. You've got the ammo. You can really attack any situation without getting too deep into the weeds. And then, so when we're talking about creating that experience, we're also talking about creating contagious loyalists, right? The more engaged that your servers can be with their guests, the more those guests feel like they have, a cheers, right? We're all wanting to have that neighborhood bar experience where you go in, you high five the bartender, maybe a couple other locals, and that's really going to be created within that service model that you choose and how you engage with your customer base. And the more contagious and the more loyal they are, the more people they bring in, the longer they stay. The ultimately more money they spend in your space. And that really can come from that blended experience. Now, Arrived, we are a tech company here. How can we bring in technology to the conversation? And I think the last year and a half has really set up the stage for us to be able to talk about this in a little bit more broad strokes and more broad strokes, but also more specificity than maybe we had previous, right? Technology has really become something for business owners, especially in food and beverage. And we've seen it especially in tap rooms with laws changing and things like that utilizing technology to get your beers, your goods into the hands of your customer base. You got to lean hard on that tech. One was online ordering, right? I think our next session is going to be on online ordering. So I'm not going to do a deep dive on that. We're going to stick to service. But when you look at how you can utilize your point of service or your point of sale in your tap room to create a customer experience versus deter from it, then you are going to see those average tab sizes go up. Your bottom line is also going to go up. Those tips are even going to start going up. So we're going to kind of talk about how you can use technology to help you even in your busiest of times, as well as your slowest of times, right? So have a lot of servers on or not a lot, how they can still utilize that technology to create those great guest experiences so that the guest has a consistent experience no matter when they go in. And guests love the consistency. As much as we like to think that we are, unique and spontaneous, we love knowing what we're going to walk into, right? And sometimes, going into a space that's new and now we see QR codes everywhere, right? That can be intimidating to a lot of folks. QR codes have a lot of value though. So you can have customizable links to those QR codes. So then you don't have to print out menus, right? That's a savings right there. Menus and paper get expensive. And as much as you all are probably changing your product, that's a lot of printing. That's a lot of ink on paper that's going out to the tap room there. So now we can have a QR code, for payments and things like that can actually speed up the guest experience. We've seen seen a lot of folks utilize these dependent on your clientele, right? Like maybe you are a family-friendly place. You bring in the kiddos, inevitably something happens, kiddos maybe having a meltdown, and you got to go and you need to pay directly. Let them help them, or help them do that efficiently, effectively from their phone versus creating more stress, right? One parent's got to take the kiddo to the car, the other one's got to wait in the line to pay out, and it's just a lot of moving parts. So with QR code ordering and payments, we've really seen that kind of streamline and being able to give the guest experience, a little bit of something extra. We also can see, dependent on your clientele, right? Maybe you've got a lot of folks that still use flip phones and have cash. QR codes may not be for them, but it might be for the other folks that come in after work on their way home from, their office job right now. Or, if their office isn't open yet, maybe they're working from your tap room and on their computer, and they really love that tech experience. Utilize a QR code when you're slow, right? To even help be that second pair of hands for that server, that bartender behind the bar. I can sit down, I can start my tab, I can order my beer, see the descriptions right there, take my time to decide. And then, that order is going to go to the bartender and they can run it out to me and then have that, kind of experience and guest interaction. So we're certainly not taking away that guest interaction with your bartenders and your space, but we're trying to help you all kind of, drive that business even in a harder time, slow time, or an understaffed time. The next thing here is that, you want to make sure that these orders kind of connect to your technology that you have in-house, right? There's a lot of moving pieces already, but you want to track those sales in a centralized location. So making sure that no matter how many options you give your guests, you can still track all of that data to make proactive decisions about what you're brewing, what you're making, how you're selling it, and when you're selling it, even down to how you're staffing. So really making sure that you have a comprehensive technology solution can be invaluable when introducing some new things as folks are now reopened and kind of figuring out those new service models. So here we've got, kind of a use case here of like utilizing technology to increase those tab sizes. So we just chatted a little bit about, kind of re-engaging your customer base in a few different ways. And what does that mean for you as the business owner or the tap room manager? And what does that mean for your servers? We're seeing kind of across the board, increase in tab sizes, 25% increase in tab sizes, which is leading to 35% tip increases, right? So your bottom line, giving that guest a little bit more control over how and when they're ordering is actually hitting your bottom line and creating, a great customer experience, but also helping you be, the best you can be, the most successful you can be, and also keeping your staff happy, right? In this time that we're having some hard time staffing all of our shifts, we really want to make sure and take care of your bartenders because they're your frontline workers, right? Like they're out there making sure that the guests are happy, and we want to make sure that they're happy as well. Creating that personal connection helps with the upsell, but the power to order on your own is creating the follow through in a lot of these cases. Programming. So what is programming, right? Programming can mean a lot of different things. Programming can be, they came for the goat yoga and they stayed for the beer. It can be an anniversary party. It can be an Oktoberfest. It can be a concert, right? It can be a beer release even. Collaborations, maybe a nonprofit Monday or whatever that is for you, giving back to the community. That's all kind of in programming, and that's engaging your most loyal customers, but it's also speaking to new ones, and you're bringing in those new folks in ways, maybe they love they love yoga and they love a vinyl night, but maybe they haven't been to your spot yet, or they're new to town and it comes up on their radar. And so you're driving some new folks in with that programming, but also they get to experience the greatness of your tap room and your community space, and creating experiences for those folks is invaluable as well. So we have a couple more use cases here. You know, so we've got our folks, you know, do a lot of anniversary parties. Obviously, I'm sure most of you do as well. We've also seen, you know, folks using these for specialty events. And our friends Cabarrus out in are doing that with their Oktoberfest. And so they actually have seen an increase in beer sales with utilizing floating service as well as QR code ordering. And so they're utilizing, you know, flexibility and the ability to kind of flex their different service models while also introducing technology into how their guests are interacting with their space, ordering more beverages, and creating a significant increase over past years. Other things here too. So our friends at Scott Street Brew Distillery, you know, they utilize a lot of different data points. So they lean heavily on reporting to kind of drive how they're engaging and what they decide to do as programming. So homework is key, right? What is the reasons your guests are coming back? How do you train your guests to come back, essentially, right? You can go old school, comment cards, collect emails, start loyalty programs, use those emails for marketing, newsletters, send out offers, right? Pints on us, you know, welcome to August. So come get a Mexican lager on us to cool down. You know, and so you don't always have to reinvent the wheel, but you do want to be able to engage folks and track that engagement and follow through. And so using, again, your technology to be able to do that, to drive up sales, drive back re-engagement, or drive in new engagement, you know, and things like that are invaluable just to create that solid customer base. Acts of kindness, right? Donations, events, giveaways, re-engaging the community, especially after everyone was so hard hit after the last, you know, year and a half or so. But really remembering that tap rooms started as community spaces, and being able to engage that community mindset is invaluable as well. So you're going to create those loyal customers just by being good humans out in the world. A great example of that we saw out of the last year was the Black is Beautiful movement, right? An amazing collaboration that started in Texas with Weathered Souls and really kind of, you know, grew into a movement in and of itself. You know, we saw over 1,200 breweries engage nationwide, all 50 states, as well as 22 countries. And so there were 100% of the proceeds donated to local organizations, and that ranged anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 site dependent. But that really kind of created a centralized community through one beer to get, you know, do some good in the community, engage your customer base into also doing some good while drinking some really delicious beer. So what does this all mean, right? We've thrown a lot of pasta at the wall. We're talking a lot of different, you know, service models, programming, engagement, technology. You know, the industry is adapting, right? The humanity right now is adapting. We're re-engaging back into social aspects, but how are we doing that to create good experiences for your employees, for your guests, as well as, you know, driving up your bottom line and making, you know, hopefully making up for some lost sales in 2020 and then making this one of your best years yet. You know, so some key takeaways here. So we've got, you know, be consistent, be creative. You know, those are kind of two opposites, but as long as you know who you are, we can be creative in how you present that, right? No day is the same. No beer has to be the same, but you know, have that same soul. Service models don't have to be set in stone, right? That's something that I know is really hard for a lot of service industry folks, is that this is how we do things, you know, being kind of flexible and malleable within even a shift, within an hour, can really kind of create the difference between a solid, amazing guest experience or, you know, frustrating for everybody involved. Tech can help. There are a lot of different acronyms for POS, right? We want to make it the good one. So, choose some technologies, utilize those technologies in different times, even different times of the day, to really help your employees out behind the bar on the floor, as well as engaging your customer base into what they're ordering, how they're ordering, and hopefully at the end of the day, ordering more. Programming engages the community, keeps them coming back, right? Again, they came for the goat yoga, stayed for the beer. If you haven't seen goat yoga, it's a fun YouTube as well. So that's a side note, but make it fun, make it interesting, make solid products as you do, and engage your customer base as they come in to create those community spaces, right? That's how we want to engage with our local tap rooms. Keep it fresh, right? That's not always just attributed to beer. That can be to branding as well. So create consistent, again, be creative, keep it fresh, and keep it flowing. I think that's a good place to kind of break after I talked a lot at everybody.
Take a deep breath, Rachel, and take a drink of water or whatever you have in your hand right now. I had so many emotions just listening to you the past while. I was really thirsty with those amazing colorful tap handles you showed me in the beginning. Then I got really hungry when you showed me all the Hattie B's chicken slides. Man, I'm super hungry right now. And then you just dove into the talks and service models, and you taught me so much. That was a ton of great information there. I really enjoyed everything you shared today.
Cool. Thanks, Andrew.
And we do have some questions, so I'm ready to throw them at you.
Yeah. Let's see.
Now, the first one, what's the most creative program you've seen?
Oh man, there's a lot, especially in Denver, sometimes hard to keep up with. Goat yoga is a real deal. It's a real thing. I can speak from experience on what we've done, or what we did when I was with the brewery. We had a beer called Free to Roam, right? As a pale ale. We launched it. We're really pumped about it. And we actually did a launch party for Free to Roam that we encouraged and requested folks to come packed for a getaway weekend. We did it on a Thursday afternoon, a Friday afternoon, so people could, have the weekend, come packed for a fun mountain getaway weekend. We didn't tell where an Airbnb was going to be, but it was very amazing race. And so we had so much fun and so much engagement. And that was a really cool one that I remember from my own experience.
No, that is a really creative idea, but I can't get over how I need to experience goat yoga. You've said it like 5 times now, and I think my wife would absolutely love it. I think my 2-year-old would love goat yoga.
It's what, yeah. I'm a mixed bag, 50-50. I don't know if I'd like it or not, but.
Well, we've got another one for you. Now, someone commented, this sounds great, but I don't have the staff. What would you recommend?
Yeah, we hear that a lot right now. As staff is a pain point for lots of folks, and some folks are busier than ever. Again, lean on that technology to help you in those understaffed moments. Maybe you're doing a hybrid of to-goes and QR code ordering, right? So really have ways that you can utilize the humans that you have in the most efficient way, as well as the technology that you have in the most efficient way, to kind of hybrid. Maybe it's not what you traditionally have done.
That's great insight there. And on to the next. Now, this is one question I've seen a lot myself. The question is, how do engagement rewards programs differ from mug clubs?
Yeah, I mean, they're same and different, right? So, loyalty and rewards is more of, you're rewarding folks for spending dollars, right? So if you can and this can change state by state, right? Sometimes states can't incentivize alcohol, and so they have to get creative. But if you can have a point-based system where it's like Southwest, like I can turn it in for a flight to the beach. But I can turn those points in for free pints, free merchandise. I mean, I say free, but they're really, having the buy-in for that. Mug clubs are going to be more of like a subscription base, right? So maybe I buy in to get that mug and I get a discount. I get a discount on that pour, and I get a 20-ounce pour for a 8-ounce price. And so that is going to be a little bit more of your just very regular customer. They're buying in up front. Maybe you have some different programming just for that group, versus having a rewards program, which can be open to everybody. and rewarding spending. And, the Mug Club might be a little bit more of a buy-in from your most loyal customers already.
No, I love all these options because they create a greater stickiness for the customer to the brewery. And who doesn't love to get motivated for visiting one of your favorite tap rooms?
I mean, right? Win-win for everybody.
I mean, every time you go to Goat Yoga, you get a beer. I mean, or something like that. Ways to motivate yourself.
Exactly. And some Chev.
Well, Rachel, I've got another for you.
Mm-hmm.
When do you check IDs if an order comes through a QR code?
Yep. Great question. And we get this a lot, and especially because liquor laws vary generally by county. So definitely be up on your local liquor laws and be in compliance with that. The way that we do it at Arrived, I can speak on that, is that when somebody starts a tab with a QR code, that tab will come through to your in-house devices, and it'll be the name on the card they use, but it will also have a tag on it that says check ID. And so depending on where you are, either you see that come through as check ID, you go engage them, greet them, right? That's that human engagement. You're checking all those IDs before you pour their beers, or you check them before you drop their beers. So really it depends on your local liquor laws. And I urge everybody to, be tip certified and all of that. But as, we help you flag those certain customers on their first order and their first engagement with a check ID tag.
Isn't it crazy how much we're using the term QR codes over the past year? I mean, it was this technology that never caught on. Now we can't escape it.
I mean, at the beginning of lockdown, I was like, I don't know what a QR code is. And now I talk about it almost all day, every day.
Yeah, it was truly one of those things like, this is gonna be the next big thing. This is gonna be the next big thing. And it took a pandemic, but it may be the next big thing if it's not already.
Yep.
Well, to give you one more QR interesting one, because with some of the breweries experiencing staffing problems and some breweries, they're busier than expected. Is there a way to delay QR code ordering or adjust the pacing so that it works with our busy kitchen?
I think that's system specific. We always urge folks when they're trying something new for the first time to start small. Maybe it's just your patio that has the ability to QR code order because that's furthest away from where your servers are generally engaging, right? Or maybe it's even just, a part of the new standing room only that you have in the parking lot, right? So really start small, maybe a certain portion of your space, your brew pub, your tap room, whatever that might be, and then grow into that. You can also set messaging, on how and, how busy you are and things like that. And that can be done real time. And also if it's getting overwhelming, you can also real time turn it off and just have those QR codes be menus and not order takers. So you have some flexibility and control over how and when those QR codes are being utilized and where.
Good information there. Now, we've had quite a few people throw a variation of this one. Is there a way to test out your tech before deciding if it works for our space?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, so we do on an occasion get what we call sandbox mode as a play environment of the service and the reporting piece to prospective clients and partners. And they can play around with it, touch buttons. People are very, visual and tactile, especially when it comes to order taking and things like that. So it's not really utilizing it in your space, but you can get some hands-on experience before you make that decision.
No, thanks for sharing all that, Rachel. And it's been fun learning from you today. I really look forward to actually meeting face to face out in Denver.
I know, just a few weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's hard to believe that literally in 3 weeks, I'm going to be among like so many of my closest friends.
It's going to be very great to be back with everybody again. So I'm excited for it.
No, absolutely. And I look forward to seeing you there. And as always, Arrive is putting out fantastic content. And I want to remind everyone, the next webinar in our 4-part series is going to be next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll be covering e-commerce, own your online sales with John Kelly from Craft Peak. And John is a great guy. Him and I actually had beers in person just a week and a half ago. So get excited to learn from him. And if you haven't already, your camera app on your phone and sign up now. And I'm watching all of you put your phones up to your cameras right now. And that's kind of hilarious. But if you can't make it, still register to receive the recording. And once again, thanks for joining. We look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.